You know, a lot of us spend decades, literally decades, saving up for retirement. But how much time do we really spend thinking about how to spend that time once we get there? Well, today we're going to dive into a guide for making your retirement years the absolute best they can be. And this is all based on the hard-won wisdom of people who've already lived it.
So let's just start with a number, 1,000. Now, what's that? Well, if you retire at 65 and you live a good long life to age 85, you've got about 1,000 weeks, 1,000 Saturdays, 1,000 Mondays. Now, at first that might sound like a whole lot of time, but let's put it into perspective. Because here's the reality check, right? Of those 1,000 weeks, you might only really have about 500 of what people call the go-go years. You know, that time when you have genuine health, high energy, the juice to do all the things you've been dreaming about for so long. And when you think about it that way, suddenly there's this real sense of urgency, isn't there? It makes you want to make every single one of those weeks count. And that really gets to the core philosophy we're going to unpack here. With a finite amount of healthy time, the real goal of retirement, it shifts. It's not about winning some competition to die with the biggest bank account. It's about using your resources, your time, your money, your energy, to live the richest life possible while you can. It's about creating memories. So to help you navigate this, we've broken it down into 5 key areas. First, we'll look at your most valuable asset. Then, we'll talk about the fuel for the journey. After that, the power of connection. Then, growing, not just aging. And finally, we'll wrap up with how to start designing your best years.
All right, let's dive right into our first section, your most valuable asset. This is all about reframing how we think about money and really understanding what its true purpose is in retirement. It's not just about the numbers.
Okay, this is the crucial mental shift. I want you to start thinking about your money not just as dollars and cents, but as time freedom. That's its real value. It's not the number on a piece of paper. It's the power that number gives you to wake up in the morning and decide for yourself, what am I going to do today? Completely free from obligation.
And this idea of time freedom leads to a fundamental choice. You can rent objects or you can buy experiences. Think about it. A new car is great, but its value starts dropping the second you drive it off the lot. The initial excitement fades, but an experience, like taking the whole family on a vacation, that can actually appreciate in your memory. The stories get better and it becomes more meaningful over time.
So here's a powerful little mental tool to help you make these decisions. It's called the deathbed test. Just ask yourself this simple question. When I'm 95, looking back on my life, what am I going to cherish more? The extra few $1,000s I kept tucked away in an account? Or the memories from that incredible trip I took when I was 67 and still healthy enough to climb all those steps? It's a simple question that can stop you from falling into the trap of over-saving at the expense of actually living.
Okay, this brings us to our second section, fuel for the journey. Because, having all the time freedom in the world doesn't mean much if you don't have the personal resources to enjoy it. And we're talking about your energy, your health, and your mindset.
Now, this is a really big idea. For most of our lives, we are obsessed with time management. But in retirement, the script flips. Time is what you have plenty of. Energy becomes the scarce resource. You can have 24 free hours in a day, but without the physical and mental get up and go, you can't enjoy them. So the real key becomes designing your life around the people and activities that give you energy and minimizing the ones that drain it away.
And here's a fantastic practical tool for managing your mental energy. It's called the 90-second rule. A neuroanatomist named Jill Bolt Taylor discovered that the actual chemical process of an emotion in your body, like anger or frustration, only lasts about 90 seconds. After that minute and a half, if you're still feeling angry, it's because you are subconsciously choosing to stay in that loop. So the next time you feel a flash of frustration, just try this. Acknowledge the feeling, take a deep breath, and let those 90 seconds pass. You'll be amazed at how much control you have over how you respond, rather than letting it ruin your whole day.
Do you ever get that feeling that the years are just flying by faster and faster? Well, that's a real thing. It's called time acceleration, and it happens because as we get older, our lives can fall into a routine. The antidote? It's novelty. New experiences. When you learn a new skill or you visit a new place or even just meet new people, your brain has to work harder, and it makes time feel slower, richer, and way more memorable.
And speaking of meeting new people, that leads us perfectly into our third section, the power of connection. With more free time on your hands, retirement is this incredible opportunity to really invest in what might be the most important part of life, our relationships.
I love this way of thinking about it, the relationship bank account.
It's a really simple but powerful metaphor. Every single interaction you have with someone you care about is either a deposit, which strengthens that bond, or it's a withdrawal, which weakens it.
So what do these deposits and withdrawals actually look like? Well, deposits are things like showing appreciation, asking questions, and showing genuine interest in the answer, offering your support. Withdrawals, well, those are things like constant complaining, criticism, or always taking without ever giving back. So a really worthy goal in retirement can be to just consciously try to make more deposits in the relationship bank accounts of the people who matter most to you.
Now, here are 2 ways to build those bonds that might surprise you. First, research has found that going through a shared challenge with someone, like volunteering for a tough project together, actually builds a much deeper bond than just doing something fun. And second, don't forget about your weak ties. You know, your casual acquaintances, the neighbor you chat with, people from your club. These connections are often the ones that open up doors to totally new opportunities and friendships you never saw coming. All right, on to section 4, growing, not just aging. This is all about a huge shift in perspective. It's about seeing retirement not as the end of the road, but as a brand new chapter. It's about embracing a mindset of learning, of creativity, and of expanding who you are. Now, I love this idea of strategic incompetence. It's about giving yourself permission to be a beginner again, to be bad at something. Instead of feeling all this pressure to become an expert painter, you just embrace the fun of being an amateur. The real joy, the real magic comes from the process of just learning how to mix colors and making a bit of a mess, not from trying to create some masterpiece for a museum. And please, whatever you do, don't buy into the myth that creativity is some special gift that only a few people have. That's just not true. It's much more like a faucet. If you don't turn it on regularly, it gets rusty. You've got to push through that awkward beginning phase where you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Because remember, the goal isn't perfection. It's just about waking up that creative part of your brain.
Of course, the foundation for all of these ideas is your health. You can think of your health as a life force multiplier. It's not just another item on the to-do list. It's the one thing that makes every other thing better. Your money, your relationships, your travel, your hobbies, everything is so much richer and more enjoyable when you feel good, both physically and mentally. It is truly the best investment you can ever make.
Okay, so let's bring all these ideas home in our final section, designing your best years. This is where we get really practical, and we talk about how to actively build the retirement you want, instead of just sort of drifting along and letting it happen to you.
I want to share a really clever mental tool with you. It's called inverse thinking. So most of us, when we have a problem, we tackle it head on. For example, we'll ask ourselves, how do I become happier in retirement? That's a pretty common question. But now, what if you flip that question completely on its head? Instead of asking how to get happy, ask yourself, what am I doing right now that's creating unhappiness? By inverting the problem like that, the solution often becomes crystal clear. Maybe it's watching 2 hours of negative news every night, or maybe it's spending time with that one person who always drains your energy. By simply stopping those things, you remove the barriers to your own happiness.
And finally, here's probably the most practical, actionable habit you can build to put all of this into practice. Set a reminder to do a simple quarterly check-in with yourself. Don't wait a whole year to realize you're off course. Just every 3 months, sit down and ask yourself these questions. By doing this regularly, you can make these tiny little course corrections along the way. And those small adjustments are what prevent big regrets down the road. They compound into a truly fulfilling life. So, when you boil it all down, the core message is this. Retirement is not some passive phase of life you just drift into. It's an active project. It's something you have the power to consciously and thoughtfully design for yourself. We really hope this has given you some valuable tools to start that design process. If you found this video helpful, please like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retirement Finance Explained, for simple and clear guidance on retirement, savings, and financial security.